Cool. Well, welcome everybody to an incredibly exciting panel. I'm thrilled to be here to talk about the promise, I should say, of pop-up cities with a rockstar panel, many of whom need no introductions, but I'm going to introduce them anyway, just to embarrass them suitably. And then we're going to get into a number of different themes about what pop-up cities are, what some of the big challenges facing pop-up cities are today, how to think about them in the context of network states and network nations, and then to set the stage for what's the vision that the world we want to live in the next 10 to 20 years if we continue to build the way we're building. So 4 people on the panel. First to my left, we have Vitalik. Many of you will know him as the co-founder of Ethereum, and he's now a certified Hollywood rock star as a result of the most recent film. So promise you I'd embarrass you, sorry. We also have Janine, who's the co-founder of Edge City, a pop-up also happening here in Chiang Mai. She was also part of the core team for Zuzalu, which Vitalik founded, was it last year or a year or 2 years? No, that was last year. Wow, lots happened. We also have Velázquez, who is the leader of the Crecimiento movement, which you've just heard a little bit about, also a multi-time DeFi founder in the dark edges of the internet for the last decade. And we have Bohao, who's one of the co-founders here at the Moo, and also a contributor to Crecimiento. So first things first, I'm going to let each of our panel tell you a little bit about themselves, but more importantly, the pop-up cities that they have helped create. V, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so the originally, Zuzalu started as an idea around the end of 2022 when I'd just finished reading biology is a long screed on the network state, and I wrote my own screed reviewing it. And at the same time, I'd been following people talking about crypto cities, special economic zones, free cities, zones, and all of these topics. And I figured that it was the right opportunity to try to move things forward by just actually trying to run one live and seeing what happens. And so the core idea was basically that we took 200 people together, some from the Ethereum community, some from longevity researchers, people interested in various decentralized governance topics, together brought it in Montenegro. And of course, Janine did a huge amount of work to help organize. And basically just actually be a city for 2 months, and organized all of the different community infrastructure, tried to actually organize infrastructure for health, tried to make it friendly for people to learn about various different topics, and basically really actually try to get the community side of building a new in-person community from scratch going. And I think the takeaway is I think in general that people really enjoyed it as an experiment, but it left this big open question mark of where do we actually go from here. And I think I see a lot of the things that are being done since then as people trying to come up with increasingly interesting answers to that question. So yeah, no, excited to be here with everyone.
Hi, very happy to be here, and excited to see that Nicole's also here, who is another founding member of the Zuzalu team. What was the question again, James?
Introduce your project, Edge City.
Oh, great. I'll introduce Edge City. We are building these pop-up villages across the globe, and the whole idea is, can we bootstrap a global community by bringing people together with some shared goals, but it being a space that brings together people across many different frontiers. So the frontiers of science, technology, culture, art, health, and many others. Because for us, the idea of calling it Edge City was all about the idea of living on the edge, and living on the edge of what is normal, where the ideas of tech, science, culture, health are all adopted earlier than elsewhere, because building the future is a lot easier to do when you're actually living in it. So these pop-up villages are almost these little instantiations of building the future before it's there, and getting everyone that exists in them to kind of be thinking about new projects, new ideas, new health protocols that they can adopt, and actually doing it together, because it's a smaller group of people that can be working on things as a collective. So we've been doing these for 1 month at a time this year, but the idea is to slowly start extending those, experiment with a few different models. And the reason we're focused on the multidisciplinary side is that we do think that the future when it comes to new innovations in the world of like totally new frontier industries will happen at the intersection of bringing two different industries that exist today. Another core value is just around health. Like we actually are really focused on trying to get everyone working out on a daily basis, eating healthy meals, so there's a healthy breakfast and lunch every single day that people are participating in. Lastly, multi-generational. We've actually got a lot of families, and we've got the older generation as well. That's an important piece for us. And the fourth piece is building and co-creation. So actually getting people to not just be, but to be building, be creating, be getting feedback from one another. And that's been super exciting to see.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. How's it going? I'm Emi. I'm from Argentina. And like James was explaining earlier about Aleph and the amazing thing that happened in August in Argentina and Buenos Aires, it was crazy. It was like more than 3,000 people, speakers from all over the world, like really high caliber quality talks. And it's something that I've been passionate about for a long time. It wasn't necessarily something that I thought I was gonna organize or help organize. I ended up doing it. So I just think it's an amazing model. The idea of pop-up cities, and I think in terms of like naming or linguistic conventions, it's not well defined what is a pop-up city, and it doesn't have to be defined, and there's going to be a lot of experiments, which I super like. Aleph in particular is this idea of like putting, the Aleph comes from a Borges book, which is a very famous Argentinian writer, which talks about this idea of a point in space that joins and makes all the points in space. So that was basically what we wanted to create in August in Buenos Aires, is just show that we are a city or a country with so many OG developers, so many projects, so many organic adoption that happen in crypto, but people don't talk about it because tax reasons? No. Because you don't want to say that you're from Argentina if you have a successful product. But you go to conferences and 95% of the products, I think except Uniswap, I think all of them have an Argentine in their team. So it's just, we need to get one in now. But it's like such a hidden gem of the crypto world, Argentina. Cool. Yeah, done. Join. We've succeeded. So it's just Aleph is particularly focused on entrepreneurs, like we said, the goals with Crecimiento, increase 10 million people the adoption, improve 10x the startup ecosystem and the way that works and the amount of startups that we have, and bring regulatory stability. So this idea was to bring people for enough time. And I think that's my personal definition of a pop-up city is like you wash your clothes together at some point. It's like you spend enough days that you get to know the other person in a very particular way and create like longer strength bonds. So that's it.
Hey guys, my name is Sun. I'm one of the co-contributors in this Moo project, and yeah. So what I do is the Moo project, and we started last year from here, from the same space that everyone is here in right now, and our focus has always been mass adoption of blockchain and how blockchain technology can actually bring real use case in real life, real people world. So that's why our past events, if you guys can see, it's all in the emerging markets or the potential like new markets. So for us, like when we go to a new place, we always consider like, is there huge enough population to actually adopt these new technology and spread it organically? Second is the government friendly enough to actually embrace this kind of new change? Because I'm from China, and you guys probably know like Chinese government does not have the most friendly regulations towards blockchain, and also with America, and also with Nigeria, and also many other countries. But there are some countries around the world that are embracing this new change, so we're looking for those countries to actually work in. And third is does that country has enough startup founders, entrepreneurs, that actually wants to build solution for people and for the society? And Argentina obviously is a yes. And then fourth is I forgot. But anyways, there are many things that we need to think about when it comes to place, comes to different things, and we believe the past we have been to many countries and many places. We see a lot of potential in all these regions, in all these areas. I want to also call out and say that in future, everyone should also travel. If you guys never been to these parts of the world, you guys are really missing out. Great food, great people, great culture, and a lot of opportunities out there that is literally the Wild West. And I believe that Pop-up City is a great opportunity to bring people around the world, come to a place to connect with the local community, not just keep living in that echo chamber in blockchain, but also learning the challenges local people are facing and discuss how can we use this new technology, build solutions, and work together and move forward together as like in a bigger world humanity. So I think it's really fun to do this. And in future, we also have future plans over here. We don't have a sign up link right now, but follow our Twitter. I'm like doing ads right now, but yeah. So thank you.
Excellent, fantastic. Big round of applause. Amazing projects all around. Okay, so we've started to demystify a little bit about the pop-up city, the different models that happen, some crypto native, some further, different frontier compute fields. I wanted to talk about like lessons learned in building these pop-up cities, like what works really, really well and what would you do differently? Maybe V, you want to start?
No, sorry. It's a very broad question. I mean, I think things that we managed to like get very right from stage one. I think one of them is like bringing together different communities and choosing the specific types of communities in a way that they actually wanted to interact with each other, and they like really appreciated getting to know people that they ended up finding really interesting but weren't exposed to before. Right, I think it's easy to make pop-ups that are monocultures. I've been in those. It's also easy to make communities that are trying to like force diverse people to like be together, but then they just end up not being together, and like you get conflict. I've actually been in one of those long before the whole pop-up thing existed, but like really getting but like that like positive interaction going is like hard, and I think actually the original Zuzalu just like perfectly managed it. Another is just having like if your pop-up is there to encourage certain things, then like you want to have like support and incentives to do those, to participate in those things that are strong enough that they happen, but also not so strong that like people who don't want to participate feel left out. Right, it's like if you want people to eat healthier, like the right thing to do is to have a free breakfast. The wrong thing to do is to like have set up a bounty program and like give people like 500 USDC, or okay fine 0.25 ETH for I know if they like catch you eating the wrong thing, and then they like it's like you get slashed half ETH, they have an ETH, they get 50%.
The operational lift on that is really hard.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Then you have like a decentralized court, Claros, part Argentinian. They can like figure out the judgment. They can get like 5%, right? You don't have to run it yourself, but you still get the police state. It's great, right? But like, better to just do the free breakfast, right? And like Zuzalu had that, and then it also ended up being this kind of like implicit subsidy to get people to actually be part of the community and get to know other people and talk to them. There was infrastructure for people to organize their events. There was a full-time person running AV infrastructure, so people could just like go in, and like all the interface stuff was just very easy. Even people who would help advertise your event. So there were a lot of things that were kind of like deliberately, like subsidized or made easier in various ways, and that really helped. But like without creating a community that like actually tried to force participating in any of those things. So I think that part was also successful. Um, third part that was successful. I mean, I think the decision to like actually make something in a location that was like pretty far away from everything else, like it actually ended up creating a pretty strong sense of community. And I think as we're learning in Chiang Mai, because we're kind of doing the opposite experiment, it's definitely not the only valid way to do it, but like it actually worked pretty well. Things that went less well. I think one is like it's very easy for the volume of events in these things to just like get way overboard, right? It's like the right thing is like a college at like 20% intensity. The wrong thing is like a college at 200% intensity. And like if you let it get uncontrolled, people sometimes easily think like, oh, there's a free spot in the schedule. That means I need to put something in the schedule, and then it just goes way too crazy. Um, Also cost. Like the one good thing we did in Montenegro is we basically rented out one location during off season, and like the collection of collective bargaining and like doing it at a time when otherwise the place would be just completely empty, like that let us get a heavy discount on everything. And like people were happy there to see us, right? Like there were restaurants where if we were not there, then they would have like still been open, but they would have had like one customer a day, right? And so that was like very positive sum. But on the other hand, like the cost was still very high, right? And I think like really, making costs for these things affordable is super important. One other thing that's like challenging is on the education side, right? So I think there's this interesting tension where the way that we did like different themes is we had like theme weeks, right? So 1 week for like health, 1 week for ZK, 1 week for free cities, 1 week for biology. But if you think about the way like real colleges work, right? They don't do theme weeks. They have like a weekly schedule and they have courses that all have a class like once a week. And the reason why that makes sense is because you have this, like, it's spaced repetition, right? It's like the thing that like learning psychologists have agreed for almost half a century is the optimal way to learn, right? Which is you have like you get repeated exposure to the same information at like decreasing frequency, but that's sustained over time. And like theme weeks are exactly the opposite of that, right? But on the other hand, like the reason why they happen is because they benefit a lot from having special guests, and there are special guests that only are available for 1 week, and so like you want to create this kind of sub event for 1 week. So there's this like tension, I think, between those two that hasn't quite been resolved, and I feel like that's still an open problem. But I don't know. This gets pretty weedsy. I'm sure other people have bigger picture answers.
Okay. No, I'll add to that. I think all of those are correct, and I'll also share how some of those areas of kind of issues we've iterated on in the past year with Edge City. One being residencies was an experiment that we ran this time around. It's really hard to just get people to commit to a full month in a place for a totally new concept where you're like, come and live with random people for a full month. This sounds great. I will say that it was a lot easier with Zuzalu because there's sort of this like new idea by someone like Vitalik. It's much easier of a pull. So don't underestimate how hard it is to actually get people to commit to being in a place for a long time, but also persist multiple times over because people start to trust you. So with that, I think something that we've been able to iterate on is this idea of like, how do you prolong the learning opportunities where it's not just a week of a specific theme, but a full month. So we've got 3 different residencies that we've been running the whole time here. We actually tried to get every topic that is doing something at Edge City in Chiang Mai to try and do a month, but some just couldn't make it happen. But like that's the ultimate goal. And seeing those tracks that have been a full month, like the Art on the Edge track and the decertification track, have been awesome, and people have really resonated with that. So these tracks within the broader experience, I would say, like keep trying and iterating on that. The other learning that we have had is like truly around health, like building. If you're trying to build health into the culture, everyone ends up caring about themselves more in these times and like moderates their experience. So people are actually sleeping more. People aren't drinking as much. People aren't just eating pizza on, an evening basis because it's just the easiest thing to have. We've actually seen how people are looking after themselves, and as a result, like helping the culture of like, okay, there's too much on the schedule, I'm just not going to engage. JOMO, this is a great thing, the joy of missing out. So that's been a piece of the culture that's like really been embraced, and health is just like, it's awesome to see a whole bunch of healthy people walking around and caring about that. The other area that's worked really well is these like intersections between different fields. I think seeing a lot of people, in crypto be exposed to folks outside of crypto, which is just not normal for crypto conferences. The delight amongst the community has been overwhelming of this just like, wow, I'm getting to learn from someone in consciousness. I'm getting to learn about AI and how that can benefit me in these different ways. And like learning about SEZs this week, people were so excited to hear what Bob had to say and how that could actually translate to some of the stuff that's happening in crypto. And maybe that'll just help push forward some of the more interesting solutions that we could see in the crypto space that currently, could do with some more innovative ideas. So I think intersections have been super valuable. The other is like really focused on multinational, getting people from many different places around the world, and that be like an aspect of diversity that's focused on, where it's like just getting people with different languages, different cultural backgrounds, and then having a real culture built around curiosity is very important. So I think those would be my ads that I would say. And the last is how much these environments have resonated with families. In terms of how we're raising kids, in terms of sort of education right now, there is this kind of open question of like, is this the type of education my kid needs? Like, the world is changing rapidly. Like, AI is about to take over. Do we feel like sitting in the classroom is the right approach? So seeing how much it has been resonating with families would be something I would add to the equation.
Yeah, I guess for me has been doubling down on the tech solutions that we saw were very useful during and experimenting with new like crypto blockchain products with large scales of people can be a mess, as you know, James. Because James obviously helped organize as well, as he was presenting earlier. But at one point, I said, I remember I said, doors don't belong in blockchain because it would take too long to open the doors. But the amount of incredible, like organic bottom-up behavior that happened that we were not expecting with introducing these kinds of tools, like for example, in terms of food, you're in the middle of a very busy city in Buenos Aires. If you want to get a place where 300, 400, 500 people can all eat together at the same time, it's very difficult. So our idea was instead, let's try to encourage people to go, but to go to restaurants in the area. So we'll do this Morphe token and we'll airdrop it to everyone that participates, And like 15 minutes after the airdrop, there was already a pool and people were making like fun experiments with the Morphe token and using it in very creative ways. And like, it's just a lot of experimentation happened on that side. In fact, I was like 2 weeks in Buenos Aires, and the shops, they still have like this paper sign outside with this scribbled pen and paper saying 15% discount by payments in cash or crypto, which is kind of cool. And people started naming the neighborhood around where it happened, the Aleph neighborhood. And this is something that's been like growing in the last 2 weeks because we're right in the middle between two districts, Palermo and Colegiales. And that area sort of doesn't have a name, so like people started calling it like the Aleph neighborhood, which is really cool because we issued these passports that you can see sort of here to everyone that participated, and that created also a lot of like new ways for people to experiment and to like you can add a different venue and you can access people that has the Aleph passport. Aleph passport starts accumulating like stamps, and so from everything that I see. If you really push and make it very clear how to use the tools, and then people are going to do whatever they want with them, not what you told them to, but it increases the collaboration and the experimentation, particularly for the use case that we're trying to create, that is increased innovation.
Wow, I waited really long. So Anna, it's just that for us, I think it's mainly about one point, like how to improve on one point, the long-term effect. Gathering so many people around the world, like literally everyone here, I think 90% of people here flew in from other countries, and imagine the amount of money you guys spend, the amount of time commitment you guys made, and the amount of CO2 you guys everyone done. So like that much commitment coming to one place and having this kind of long-term gathering for a month, and then what else? That's a question we want to answer. Like, what are we leaving for the local community here, and what are we not leaving, but more like collaborating with local communities? What is the long-lasting effect that it can have here? That is what we care much more. We care the most. Like in Argentina, we're super happy that Juan Benet, Protocol Labs team reached out and discussed about this long-term movement. And then after Mubarak, we went to Accra, to Ghana. But over there, we don't have a Juan Benet, we don't have a Vitalik. Then what is the long-term effect that can be done is something that has to be answered by the community. And blockchain has a lot of use cases over there, but it requires a certain amount of commitment, certain amount of energy, time to push that thing to happen. So when we were there, like doing Pop City, the local governor came and reached out and did a governance day, and we were talking about like how they're embracing blockchain, how they wanting blockchain to come in to bring change, but then what else? Not much money or investment are invested in Ghana from overseas. So a lot of startups are struggling, and then not amount of educational resources that are available. So who can provide that, fill that void? So that's the kind of question that we want to answer in all our future pop-ups, and that's why we're going back to Africa early next year. Sometimes you can't really solve a problem by just one attempt. That's why in our future design, we're gonna go multiple attempts. So this time, if we couldn't find like a long-term solution or long-term thing that will last after the pop-up city, then we'll go back again next year, doing it a bit different, inviting more friends, more people, and pivot the conversation to another direction, to another focus, until we find a solution that we and the global community and the local community can work together, bringing value to both of us. We are bringing value to them by providing like resources, opportunity, change, and they providing value to us by proving that blockchain's actual use case, and actually the technology that we're building in this industry has some really amazing meaning and bringing change to the entire people. So that's like a thing that we're super interested to explore and to keep trying. And welcome to Africa next year.
Excellent. There was one thing that each and every one of you mentioned that ran as a thread through all of your answers, and that was people, right? These are technology-focused initiatives, but people are at the heart of them, both local communities and all the people that are building, either the core team or the contributors that make these environments what they are. You have an army of people here, like a staging ground for military expeditions, as early pop-ups used to be in the roots of history. Like, what would you say to these people? What do you need the most in your respective communities to affect the most change? And how can these people get involved with what you're doing and building? Maybe, Sun, do you want to start? And we'll come back this way.
I'll say one thing we should definitely improve is that we have more local engagement. If you look around, people around you, how many Thai people do you see? How many people from Southeast Asia do you see? That's the thing that we need to improve, and when we welcome them, we'll love that everyone around here to welcome them as well, because we are actually in their country, and then to share what we're building with them in a more normal language, instead of the technical jargon you're throwing around and trying to make it really hard to understand. Basically, more collaboration and learn about different things that blockchain can make change. So that's the thing that I think everyone could improve, and so start from us, and then everyone work together. Also, be curious. I'll say, like, be curious about parts that you've never been to, especially the places that doesn't seem as developed, but if you've been there, you see like amazing culture, amazing food, amazing people, and you have no idea how warm and how tight their hug is, and and how like just amazing people, and you'll just really want to be friends with them and just be hanging out with them much more. And sometimes you feel that you see them more like a family than sometimes you see your own people. So it's kind of funny.
Asado culture, yeah. Everyone needs to come to have asados. Are we having a 7 now? No. This week. All right, so it's not only because I'm from Argentina that I'm saying this, but Argentina at the moment, it really is in a very particular moment in time, both in terms of macroeconomics globally and the adoption of crypto worldwide. You know, stuff that happened with El Salvador and different smaller countries. You know, Argentina has a step up in number of people that this could happen. We have this regulatory sandbox happening beginning of next year, which is going to allow people to build a lot of cool new products, infrastructures, and stuff that wasn't able to be built before. So you're on the verge of a real potential, like, big challenge. And I'm always find it fascinating, like the coffee shops where revolutions happen, which is, I don't know, before the French Revolution, before American Revolution, there was a coffee shop where this, like, people met and just had like conversations and said, well, we should overthrow the government because we don't want to pay taxes on tea. And so this is how I see myself in the work that we're doing in a little way. It's like creating this coffee shop in Buenos Aires. That happens not only in Buenos Aires, but it can happen in different places. And there's one coming in December. I want to see everyone there. You're going to be able to get a picture with Messi. My cousin, Messi Rodriguez, is another guy. But fabulous barbecues, tango dancing, a lot of smart people. You're going to have a great time. Honestly, it's a great time to come. But I really would say that this is an amazing opportunity if you're trying to build something, to build it for people that actually need it. You know, you have like 50 to 55 million people that are looking for different forms of solution that crypto can provide. So super happy to see you all in December soon.
Awesome. Yeah, December in Argentina is going to be amazing. I think from our side, and just like a through line with all pop-ups, is like, this is a new thing that's happening, but it's like a step. This is the first step. Like, we're at point, V 0.001 of the step of changing society in some capacity. Like, everyone here is spending a lot of time together, just consuming a cool environment and being social with others. Like, yes, we need to change how, there's a massive problem around loneliness right now. Let's fix that problem and then get to like a ton of other things that we need to build. And it's not just about kind of consuming in these spaces and being like, cool, there's people together, I can now just hang out. It's about thinking about, what does this type of environment uniquely help you do in the world that's going to progress us forward as humanity in some capacity. And if we're all actually thinking about how do you use a collective to build some of these complex systems that we have, that would be extremely valuable. It's not just about the organizers building the environment, like, that's just step one. And it's up to everyone that's giving up so much time and changing so many of their own social norms, whether, some are on nomadic, others have a full-time home and have partners and have families, that you're choosing to be here instead of there. What is that future that we're working towards? Like, pop-ups are step one. How do we all help build step 2, 3, 4, moving forward? The other piece that we have seen is we've been partnering with people that are actually building full-time new cities or full-time sort of new movements as a whole, and actually supporting people that are looking to bring about societal change in some way or build entirely new infrastructural environments. Helping that like be supercharged in some way is extremely valuable. So not just kind of waiting for a new city to be created and then be like, oh, well, in 15 years time, I'll go and, give it a go once there's a culture that's being built. How can you help that community build a culture that we want to see in these changed environments earlier? So just be a part of the change you want to see in the world.
Yeah, I mean, one one thing that's really valuable about this movement, right, is that like there's an opportunity for anyone to step up and become a leader. And I think a lot of the time, like that's exactly the kind of person that we need more of, right? Because I think what the goal of all of this, right, is to not, just be like yet another way for like a couple hundred people to get together and have fun for 5 weeks and then head off. It's to like actually try new things, try to figure out new models, and work on new technologies, and like really figure out something that can expand and benefit many more people. And like for that to happen, like we actually need people going out and actually trying things, right? And I mean, I feel like that definitely does happen, right? I mean, even here, like we saw it, Nicholas and Forsey is like actually like went and figured out 2 permanent locations. So we did not have that last year. Now we do have that this year. Then we have all of Janine's work in actually figuring out the culture and the physical infrastructure side of this. I mean, the one thing that I found fun is how there's Edge City's got this 24/7 co-working space, and also makes a point of giving everyone like orange glasses, and so it's like there's like a whole bunch of like U.S. time zone digital nomads that just like have to be in that time zone, but then here that basically means being awake in the middle of the night. It's like, wait, well, great, let's like figure out the infrastructure to make it actually work for people to be awake in the middle of the night in Thailand. So, and then Mega Zoo, you basically just like have this application building bootcamp, we demos here every week, and just people supporting each other building things. Like there's a lot of opportunities here to like really innovate on the social side of the technology, innovate on like actually incorporating all of the different open source tech that we've seen, and like I've seen people using ZooPass, I've seen people using Social Layer, I've seen people using the cursive, all kinds of things, right? And and all obviously all kinds of blockchain things as well, right? So like actually pushing forward on that just like requires someone to go and say like, hey, like here is a vision, and we'll actually like do a pop-up for a month, and like make this idea be part of it, and like make a serious effort of trying it out, and really put effort into it, and like persist the idea across at least the entire month, right? And like if that happens, then like regardless of whether it works well or whether it works less well, like at the worst case, we all learn something. In best case, we learn something that then becomes model for everyone.
Fantastic. Yeah, we're all dog fooding all of these products, right? But products that we've built for these pop-up cities and making them interoperable, as well as the products that are being out at the wider societal economic level. Final question, sadly, given time, and then maybe we'll open up for a couple of questions from the audience. I'm going to give our panelists a choice. We're looking at the vision for the future. You can either make a prediction about what you think will happen to pop-up cities and network states, etc., or you can talk about what you want to see happen. And the time frame is going to be 3 years into the future. Okay, 5, right. By popular demand, 5 years into the future. Actually, show of hands for 5 years versus 3 years versus 10. 3 years? 5 years? 10 years? Oh God, I can't count that quickly. All right, okay, between 5 and 10, we're going to do a tiebreaker. 5 years. That's not many. 10. Yes, okay, we have our winner. Right, 10 years into the future, either what's going to happen or what do you want to happen? Vitalik, stage is yours.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, prediction for yeah, this is hard. I mean, I think in terms of like I mean, what will happen, right? I think the main thing that we're going to see is that we're going to see pop-ups specialize in and like become a lot of very different things, right? And so I mean, at the network state conference back in September, I had this like slide where I sort of likened the pop-up city movements to the subway in San Francisco, right? Where like if you're going from the southern part of, San Francisco to SF downtown, then like all the lines are all like basically sharing the same tracks, but then as soon as you cross the big bridge, suddenly they all diverge, and then a little later they diverge again, and they're going in opposite directions. And the reason is basically that a lot of the use cases that are people's original motivating wish for wanting to do this. Like the first step is the same, but ultimately they lead to wanting different things, right? Like if what you want is you want a city with a regulatory environment that lets you build really cool biotech very quickly, experiment with drones that just fly, like avocado toast straight over to people's windows. The drone, right? Like you hook it up with a rope, but then you have to hook it up at least 3 points because otherwise it'll fall over. And then you fly, you raise, and it's like, I mean, the tech already exists. We just have to apply it for peaceful purposes. Yeah.
And make sure you bring them.
Yeah, it works. I mean, it's I imagine, just make an entire city where you actually do this, right? And then also add in crypto payments, and and then finally we can make this smart home stuff actually useful. So the window opens just in time, and then it comes in, and then 30 minutes later it comes back, and it even takes the garbage away or something, right?
I didn't think this is where we were going to go with
But
this
the
question.
point, but the point is, right, that this is actually being able to do this stuff and having an environment you have full stack support, including regulatory environments, right? Is that's one vision, right? Another vision is what if we want to do is we're basically trying to invent the next great university, right? A third vision is if you care about a specific country, and let's say you as someone who cares about a specific country decides the path to making this country great again is that we're going to focus on a couple of particular technology verticals, and we're going to make a serious go at actually becoming a center of that, right? That's also a use case. It's also a different use case, right? Then if all you're trying to do is, you're trying to just bring a couple of local communities together and help people be healthier, then that's another use case. And ultimately, the things that these use cases demand would end up being pretty different, right? And to me, the common thread of all of these, right, is basically the combination is that you have in-person communities and in-person coordination, but that gets aided by technologies that only really become really usable in the last 10 years. So actually, one, bring people together that actually have common interests, and two, actually potentially do fundraising to actually bring the capital together, then potentially do governance discussion and all these other pieces, right? One other type of community I forgot to mention is people that wants to actually try the thing where you actually make it actually do fully resilient and self-sufficient infrastructure, right? And you actually figure out how to actually say this is a field, and guess what? Within 90 days we're going to do a pop-up in the field, and let's actually bring stuff in and figure out the solar power, figure out the agriculture, and make everything work, right? Lots of people want to do that too, right?
Any particular fruit or vegetable that you want to see grown in that field?
Avocado.
I mean, ask the health people what's nutrition eat, right? I mean, okay, this is another thing I want to do, right? So idea to throw into the wind, right? So there's one approach to the whole health thing, right? Is the Brian Johnson approach, which is going to optimize an entire region, right? And we saw that actually we tried in network school, what that ended up, the problem is that if you try to super optimize an entire menu, then it's it appeals to a few people, and sometimes it appeals to literally exactly the person who crafted the menu. And it's everyone else has different preferences, right? the one critique I've heard is that people the bluebird menu ended up being like entirely cold food, and there's a lot of people like actually wants to have hot food. And so okay, I can't tell if like I can't tell if you're pro hot food or anti hot food.
Hot food on demand.
Hot food on demand. Only. Okay. Yeah. See. So. Yeah, that's good, right? So we want, you know. So basically, yeah, the thing that like I would love to see instead is like I want to be friggin' eating like Brian Johnson compliant hot food, like a hot pot, like who's making Brian Johnson compliant hot pot, right? It's like for every every cuisine that like people already know and love and care about already, just like do a couple of ingredient swaps and like raise it up by like 30 or 50%, right? Like so that's one of those things I've also loved seeing, right? But that benefits again from coordination, right? Because like this is the thing with cooking, right? It's like the amount of work to cook for n people like actually scales like way less than linearly with n, right? But of course the problem is that if you just leave it to like generic cookie cutter restaurants, then they're not going to care about this health stuff, right? And so but on the other hand, if you can find a community that do, then you like just figure it all out together and like yeah. So that that's basically a lot of these very different use cases depending on very different things that people care about, and this demand has very different demands on the regulatory environment, and it's very different potentially demands on size, very different demands on like governance structure, very different demands on a lot of things, and so expect it to just become a very diverse thing where like potentially at some points like we'll even be kind of arguing over what even is pop-up city as a category, because it will kind of blend into a continual base for like on one end you have hacker houses and on the other hand you have people like starting entire like freaking new cities in Western Antarctica or maybe on Mars. And like that'll be fun, like hopefully we can get both hacker houses and cities at least in Western Antarctica by 2034. Okay.
10 years from now, yes, hacker houses on Mars together would be great. But ultimately, I do think that what I would love to see this help spur is like we're talking about, we've sort of called Edge City this like aspiring society incubator. And if we can actually incubate new societal models, like social norms are one of the hardest things to change. We haven't seen a ton of innovation in the sort of like societal space for a long time. And like, I think this is sort of like a jostling in pop-up villages right now, is a jostling of social norms that we can try and like shift where they go. It's been a perfect intersection of sort of this mix of both social and technology and doing it in different places that have come together where we have a moment in time now to really accelerate the next 10 years in changing just social norms. And when we look at that, like things that I'd love to see in 10 years is like education should not be as expensive as it is today. Like we've made it this much more expensive thing and much more complicated and like in very rigid environments. We should be learning our entire life and we've actually got the opportunity to do so. So education should be different and much more accessible at all times to everyone at all ages. I think the other piece is health. Like we live in a world where we've accepted that being unhealthy is okay. Like eating fast food is totally fine. Convenience over health has definitely been prioritized, and sick care has been prioritized over health care. Like the idea of building hospitals was so that you could go, get healthy, and go home and not engage with the hospital system again. Now people go to the hospital, they get a pill that they then have to have for the rest of their lives, and they're engaged with the system forever because like they've got a chronic disease. We should not have chronic diseases the way that we do with the technology that we have today. So changing systems around health, I think, are really important. And I think the other aspect is like, again, why are humans so lonely? why have we gotten to the stage of not having as much flourishing when if you look at progress, we are just like succeeding in a lot of different ways as humanity. We're not fighting as much, we're being a lot more cordial, but like if we're actually in the stage of being super, super lonely, like can we change that? So changing that in 10 years. And then the fourth piece is around just progress. Can we actually accelerate progress in different fields that is interesting to support human flourishing just versus just support economic flourishing? And I think that's like a transition that some of these pop-up environments can really help navigate.
10 years, 10 years. It's a difficult number because like I love in the S-curve of adoption of pop-up cities. I'm loving this, like going up on innovation. Like they're going down a bit. It's probably going to be more problematic since it involves so many people as well. There are going to be a few costs in 5 or 10 years. But, no, I'm saying it's such a natural thing for all of us, I think, to every product, everything that we do in our life, it's just something that we choose, and we're like more and more choosing how we want to spend our life, where we want to live, and everything. So like this pop-up city, although the definitions I brought, for me, it's a bit like at the beginning of the internet. You have the blogs, and everyone has their own. It's much more decentralized. Everyone has their version that they can do and have and show the world. And then probably you're going to have some brands that are going to start to centralize this a bit. The ones that are offering something compelling that people like, and they're going to grow. And I do think that this is going to be a massive change in the way that we interact in the next 10 years. But in terms of specificity, like I would go in a short term say that we're going to see flourishing of, like for example today on the plane I was arriving and I read this collective shelling city that are going to be doing like add-on versions next year, which I like, and I think you're going to have like a lot of experimentations in terms of what's possible to do with this, and yeah, that how they blend into like physical land is what I'm interested as well. If they're purely nomadic, where at some point the brands or communities decide to start like getting actual physical places, and how that affects movement and the thing.
10 years, wow. I'll say I really can't really do like 10 years forecast. It's really like important for me, I feel. But I just would like to say I feel the pop city concept has just been like 1 year old and already so many things happen. And for the next 10 years, I don't know like how many other pop cities or social experiments gonna happen. But everything can start from this point, this moment. So anyone, because I know a lot of people here already, like I know Chuchu, she's like helping with Shanghai Wu, helping with Invisible Garden, and I know Petra, he's doing the Build a Monastery, and I also know like Dodo, she's helping with the move and also help with Crecimiento. Like so many people around here has already been involved in the organizing, being the organizing of the like different social experiments. I believe in future these people will be the future organizer of some other social experiments that will happen. And I would just like to say that if any of my friends, anyone here would like any sort of help, experience, resource, whatever, like reach out to us. We'd love to support whatever experiment you guys would like to do, and we'll accelerate this whole pop-up city or social experiment movement further and faster. And God knows what's going to happen in 10 years. 1 year already is going to be so much change, and 10 years is just going to be mind blown. And maybe Crecimiento movement is going to be a huge fucking success, and then the entire world is going to learn from Argentina, and that's going to be amazing. So some things could happen in 10 years, but everything starts from now, and everything starts from people in this room, also people outside. But at the end of the day, it's all about supporting each other and just helping each other to make things happen. So yeah.
Amazing. Well, it gives me a great pleasure. This was an absolute privilege to both thank all of our panelists personally, as thank you for the shoulders on which we all stand, we've all benefited, and on behalf of the audience. And that was a really, really insightful conversation. Very excited to see where we are in 10 years. We'll do this panel again and see how close we get to all the predictions that were made. And yeah, onwards to the programming. Thank you very much to our great panel.
Sorry, no. Okay, so we have another talk right now. We're gonna be talking about real world crypto use cases in Argentina. So